Welcome to the Sly Gittins Tech Simplified channel. In today's video, we have Marchelle Klippenstein, and she is about to share her fantastic journey. And we're so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to give her the platform to share her story. So make sure you watch this video to the end and do not miss a beat. So Marchelle, can you please let me know how you got started in the industry and what are you doing today?
Hey, hi everyone. I am thrilled to spend the time with you today. I am currently the vice president of a team within SAP Concur, which is called Customer Improvement. But this has been a journey to get to this point, which I think is the point of today's discussion. And I've been with the company for 10 years. It'll be 10 years in May, actually. Isn't it funny how everybody knows what their anniversary is? And I've only had two organizations in my career. So I have been 10 years plus at one organization and 10 years with SAP Concur. And so I lead this team globally for Concur, driving value and selling strategy. So I guess the question was, how did I get here, right? Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit of a response. So like I said, I've only had two companies. So my first real job out of high school even was with Nordstrom, and I started on the selling floor, and I worked my way through into leadership roles at a young age. I mean, I was a baby, I guess you could say. And I had this dream that I would be a buyer, you're working for a amazing retail company, and there's so much happening. And this is back in the, in the 90s. And I thought, well, I'm going to be a buyer, and that's what it's going to be. And then of course, life certainly took me on some other turns. And so through some situations, which I'm sure we'll talk about here today, I ended up moving out of the what they would consider the floor or the front of the house, and moving into corporate roles, finance focused. And as luck would have it, I was part of an initial project to stand up, the Concur solution at Nordstrom. And given the fact that Concur was a local company here in the Seattle area, so it's Nordstrom, there was a lot of connection, a lot of communication and representation of Nordstrom with Concur together. And so I found my way from that kind of role at Nordstrom through into working at Concur. And then that's been a 10-year run, from entry-level roles through to where I am today. So that's kind of a summary, I guess, if you want to say. I'm sure we'll get into the details, but yeah, that's how I got here.
That's pretty interesting. That was a pretty cool story. Question is, how did you came from Nordstrom Rack, and then you find out this application called Concur, right? It was Concur.
Yes, Concur.
And you took that and you joined. How did you go from Nordstrom Rack to Concur? Like, I can see that.
Well,
go ahead.
Yeah. So it wasn't like this natural placement. And in fact, I would say I wouldn't even have ever thought I would be in a technology role ever. Like I said, I thought I was going to be this buyer and stay in retail. And, there were a lot of circumstances that kind of put me in this space. So like when I said that I moved from the front of the house at Nordstrom through to their finance group, that was a forced move on my part. And it goes into some personal choices that I had to make. So if I kind of divert into, my personal story here, I was 22 and I was in college, and I was actually going to the business school, attending business school at the University of Washington. And I had met someone and found myself pregnant at 22 years old. Now he's 17 now. So I have I couldn't even imagine, like, if you look back and you think, oh my gosh, can you imagine that age group having children? Like, it is crazy. And circumstances were not healthy. It wasn't, I needed to figure out how to do it on my own. And I did. And that was the forcing mechanism. Like, I was working a retail schedule that is not conducive to having children, which I'm sure a lot of people know. And I was a single mom, no less. And so then I had to make a move, and I had to take a serious look in the mirror and say, what can I do to take care of my child, stay with a company that has supported me, I've been with for, a number of years at that point. And so I made a move into their back office, their finance organization. I knew nothing. Like, let's be honest. Like, I knew nothing about corporate finance. I knew nothing about any sort of ERP technology, anything like that. The only thing I knew was how to sell clothes and sell them well and manage people. And I was young. Like, so here I am. I step into finance. I worked in it was called the co-op office. So for those that have a marketing, background, that marketing co-op dollars, I had to deal with the processing of co-op from the vendor, and what that co-marketing effort was for the product to move it, But I had no idea even that was I was facilitating, was that, that page in the magazine or that ad online was being co-opted, right? I was just processing. I was keying. I could key like the wind. And as I got more in tune with things, and as people recognized that I could key, and I started to see reconciliation process, and I started to make sense and connect dots. That's when I got into supporting, at that time, the Concur implementation for Nordstrom. And then, then kind of from there, it just started to open up. Now, I was still very young. I was still trying to find my way. And it really just I worked hard, but it also fell in my lap in a weird way. And then I found this passion. I said, I can do this, and I can be really good at this. And my son needs this. And I've got to put my head down and do the work and show that I'm capable. I'm not just a young, corporate, person. I am trying to make a life for myself. And I had to really push the envelope on that. So yeah, I mean, the reality is I don't have a completed formal education. I don't have, the only thing I have is experience and grit. And that's what's put me here. So my transition from the retail space to technology was a forced thing. And then I found the passion in it, and I have been pushing forward ever since.
That is a beautiful story that I know is still being written. But it's so many gems in there. It's we can unpack. Let's unpack.
We can unpack a lot. I'm sure.
This is I'm going on a vacation for 2-3 months across the world, and I got a lot to unpacking it.
Yeah.
So the first thing I see there is you get hit with adversity. Life came unexpected. You had your son, and two things you can do. You can go back home. You cannot, I guess, think about your career, or you could drop everything and try to figure it out. But you told yourself that's not an option. I need to figure this out.
Well, I didn't even tell myself that was an option. That just was not an option. The way my family operated, and the way I was the oldest of 5 children. The others were still in school. Some of them were not even, in the double-digit age group yet at that point. And so I just scraped by, fly. I didn't want to lose my job. I knew that there was something that was going to really push me to the next level. anytime I got to the next level, I was always looking for the next one after that. And even currently in my role today, I'm ambitious about thinking like, what's next? And so I guess long-winded response or interjection there is that I didn't have another place to go. I had to make my own home. I had to take care of my own child. The resources were not there that you would maybe expect for a parent, a young single parent at the time. And I had to figure it out. Now, was I really successful? Like, I'm successful because I went through the turmoil. Was I successful in that time period? No. I mean, there was so much adversity, I can't even begin to describe it. We're talking, you're burning bills in the fireplace because you can't pay them, and you're praying that you have enough gas to get to the bus station to take the bus into the city, and you're doing all the things to make sure that you're providing at least a roof over their head and food in their bellies and a warm bath and, a place to snuggle up at night. Like, that's it. And then the next day you're doing the same thing and at the grind and everything. So if I think back, it's actually funny because this is kind of like bringing historical like feelings back to the surface. But I believe that, that God has a funny way of helping you forget some of that turmoil so that you can continue to push forward. Right. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have a place. I didn't have anywhere to go. I had to figure it out for myself.
Yeah, and failure wasn't an option. You had to make it work. This wasn't an option.
No, it wasn't. And in fact, I think there was a lot of people, not a lot, I think in particular, maybe a handful of people that probably wished I did fail. But, no better motivator than to work to prove anybody wrong, right?
Look how much stronger you are now because of that. Look how much, I'm assuming adversity at work is nothing compared to that. So,
yeah,
for me, I felt like you went through a really trying time. So now, even when you get into positions that I know won't match that has to be a breeze to someone who else may not went through that. Maybe they might burst underneath that pressure, but you've been pushed to the limit, right? And you made it through.
Being pushed. I think, if this content is, helping motivate anyone, if you're listening, just know that there's always a way. Like, there's nothing, you might not have like the formal education, or you might not have the right person in your corner sometimes, or you might not have the network that you think you need. But as long as you keep your head down and you do the work and you learn, and from like everybody says, oh, I failed at something. Well, you never fail at something. You either succeed or you learn something. So if you're not taking every single learning opportunity and, kind of stacking it up, you're going to miss an opportunity to avoid that again in the future. Right. So I think it was just years of lessons learned. It was painful here. It was painful there. It was hard. Sometimes I couldn't get to work because I didn't have enough gas. Like, I had to figure it out, and I learned all along that way. But yeah, that adversity, I mean, shoot, women, moms, single parents, not even just moms, single parents in general, who are trying to figure things out, just know that again, like I said, there's just always a way. There's drivers, there's like your own personal success, right? Your own motivation, something to prove someone wrong or to prove to yourself, or that's always in the mix. But what I draw upon continuously, and I told you this in a prior conversation again, and I'll tell the viewer or the listeners that this is about me showing my son, who is a wonderful human. I will tell everyone, I will vow, he's one of the most amazing humans on the planet. But I constantly am working hard every day to show him that mom is capable of doing it and supporting the family and being that rock, because I don't want him to grow up thinking that that women can't, or that moms are just meant to to contribute to society through the home or through some of those historical references. He doesn't have that awareness at all, or that, like, his thing is, oh my gosh, my mom, she can get things done. Yeah. And so I just, every day I'm like, reminder, mom can do it. Reminder, you need to have respect for women. Reminder that we are equal. Remind, all those things. So if you ask him today, he's like, oh yeah, no, like, absolutely respect women and be a good human. That's actually one of our little phrases that I've worked really hard to ingrain. It's kind of like our little motto. If you asked him today, like, what's mom's motto? He would say, be a good human. So
that's beautiful. And that's, my wife and I have discussions with that, is because currently she's, she stays at home, take care of the kids. But my wife has 2 masters by 25. So she's super smart. Right. And I always recalibrate it. I'm like, when you're ready, let's go back. Whenever you're ready, we'll make the changes. Mm-hmm. She has her own business that she's working on. She does an elderberry. She's working on a website. It's coming out. I'm like, all right, man, if it starts picking up, we can get a babysitter. We can find something out. If it gets to the point where you bringing home more than I am, I might consider even switching roles, right? So whatever it takes, because I want the same thing for my daughter to realize that, her mom is a rock star.
Right.
Her dad is cool too. I'm pretty awesome.
Yeah, you're okay.
I'm all right. I'm just all right, but her mom is phenomenal. And I got to make sure that she knows that, and she knows it. And I can see it from a different lens. I feel that emotion of having to prove yourself. So growing up where I came from, in Brooklyn and Bed-Stuy, you don't make it to the seats. You got some rappers who make it. You got some, like, a lot of entertainers. But I got lucky enough to be exposed to doctors that look like me. I got exposed to lawyers that look like me. Business owners, everything. My older brother is one. All his friends are. So I know that I am what I'm supposed to be. And even when I get my job, various jobs, I know it's not that many people who look like me in these roles. So not only am I charting it for myself and my last name, I'm doing it for other guys and ladies who look like me, because they need to have that same opportunity and realize that, Sly isn't an anomaly. He's just one of many people that are affluent and not the same as what you went through. But it's just something, an emotion I can understand when life doesn't go the way you want it to. Like when I was at school and college, I'm working 3 jobs, taking 20 credits, right? Running back. But I know my parents didn't have any money for books. Right. I know my parents didn't have any money for food. They were trying to figure out how to keep things together because my mom was sick, had kidney failure. My dad was starting to age and started seeing some of that ageism and getting aged out the workforce. So my older brother and sister are holding it down so I could be at school to focus. So it wasn't time for me to fail, because if I fail, I can't go home. There's nowhere to go home to.
Yeah. Well, and that was the same thing. You can't, I couldn't fail. I couldn't go back home. Yeah. There was nobody who was like me at those stages of my life. Like, I was the first one to have kids of any of my friends. And, I was all grown up. And in fact, my friends, like, a lot of things happened to me first in my friend circle. Whether it's parents being ill or kids or career steps or whatever, like, for whatever reason, I kept pushing on that step because there was no other option, to your point, and to show that there are people like me who are ambitious, there are women, there are men like me who want to show the world that they're capable of doing something that maybe there was predisposition that they couldn't, or that there is a social norm that's incorrect about what should or should not be a path for me. Like, I didn't know it, but if you look back, hindsight's always 2020, and you just break through those barriers and you prove it. It's just a very interesting perspective I think a lot of people are starting to see is a trend, or it was a behavior that almost kind of stifled people. And that's not okay, right? And so when we're teaching our kids, to your point, you're teaching your daughter, your wife is ambitious. You're teaching that every human can do what they set out to do. That's the most important thing. You got to have that perspective and bring that to life and bring that to the surface as you raise your children and as you talk, as you pursue your own adventure, your own, ventures. And the other thing I didn't get into, and I need to make sure I call him out, is my husband. So I did get married 10 years ago. He's an amazing human as well. He was my high school sweetheart. So we knew each other years ago, and then we reconnected, and he has been a wonderful support system for me. Early on, when I crossed over into technology, his job was very flexible. He's an entrepreneur. So he stepped up and was dad, and we were parenting together, and we were doing it. And to this, our son is what he refers to Peyton as. There's absolutely no way, not no way, but I think he had a lot to do with how I could continue to push forward. I guess the point is he was there along the way too. Over the last decade plus, he's been, a very supporting spouse, driving, making sure that to your point, you're helping your wife be who she wants to be. He is absolutely helping me be who I want to be. So I'm thankful for that.
I think partnership, allyship is critical things that I didn't even know about allyship. It's funny, I learned that with Microsoft. I didn't even know that was a term. I just was doing it. I know that may be just bad on my part, but I took a course in Microsoft, and that's one thing I did like their diversity and inclusion course was top notch. And they talked about allyship, and I'm like, man, that's kind of what I'm doing now. So that's the term I need to utilize. And I want to show, that you can have allies in here on both sides, right? And I like to also show partnership, because sometimes the media likes to vilify sometimes being married, but there's going to be some times where it's going to be up and down. That's part of any relationship you have, right? But you got to be there, and I find out in the areas you just got to be able to compliment your spouse, and be okay if it takes a little bit longer to do something that that will be easier for you. But I realize my wife and I are better at two different things. I'm more of a front of the house type of person. She's more a back of the house type of person. And together we're better together, right? So let's leverage our strengths together. And I've always been the person as the best person for the job. Certain areas, I know my wife is better than I am. So why shouldn't she lead that situation if she's the best person for the job, right? So that's how I kind of approach life, even when I'm at work. If I know someone has better skill sets and technical aptitude than I do, I bring that resource in and have them do that, right? It's no shame. It's okay, because I think that's what makes the world great. We all have a skill set that if we could just tap in with each other, we can do amazing things. And I think that goes for, being in a relationship or even at work. So
it's funny that you say that. So my, I said he's an entrepreneur. Well, he's not. When I say he sells hot dogs, it's kind of a joke, but it's not. He does actually sell hot dogs. That's part of his business model. We're a mobile food company in Seattle. Plus, we have a bar, and so because of his business ventures and that entrepreneurial activity and like the exposure I have to that, it's funny because that actually makes me better in my current role. So with what we're doing now, in the way technology selling has changed, it is expected value of the customer. It is that we have to deliver on outcomes intended. It is that you have to understand business processes and business motions in order to actually truly consult. I mean, you cannot go into a customer or try to sell any infrastructure, any technology to a customer if you don't actually know what it's going to do for them, not what it can do functionally, but what it's going to do for their organization, right? And in order to know what they're going to do or what that is, you have to know how business works. And so I think it's if again, hindsight 2020, if I look back, all of the different steps I've taken and all the roles I've held, and the wife of an entrepreneur, and I guess if that makes me the CEO, jokingly, of his company, I don't know. I learn every day from some of the stuff he has going on. I mean, literally, Concur is expense, employee spend management. That's what we do. But I actually have a company that I have to manage spend for. Like, I actually do things to support the business, and part of that whole vibe. And I draw on that knowledge to consult Fortune 500 companies, because business is business, right? So when you say compliment, I guess from a professional standpoint, he has been, just that mix has actually been a growth opportunity for both of us. Like, I look at things from like a strategic perspective. He looks at things as like figure out how to get it done and make business happen and drive revenue. And so it actually works for his side as well as mine. I don't know, like that's a blessing most, to kind of be able to have that working marriage. But that's what it is now. And that's actually, that's something our son sees too. He sees that there's a blend between professional and personal lives, in our household.
Yeah, and that's common and similar to my household. I remember I had an idea when I was 24, start an open mic night, right? Because I felt like in Buffalo.
Open mic night?
Open
Awesome.
mic night, so I did poetry. And I remember I went to a poetry open mic night, and the host took the mic from me and then let me perform. And it made me feel so embarrassed. And I'm like, why would he do this? It's an open mic. Doesn't matter if I'm the best poet or not. It's called open mic, so that's because it's open mic. And I told him, when I went home, I told my wife, I'm like, I never want anyone else to feel that way. And I think I should make my own. But I never knew how to do that. My wife said, let's do it, because she know I'm very creative and she's very good at putting plans together and, breaking that giant pizza into 8 slices so you can eat it. Right. Yep. So she helped me with that portion of it. But then I could figure out, all right, I need an amp. I need to get mics. And I knew I can keep investing, but let's see if you get any interest from it. I went, to the coffee shops nearby, pitched the idea. I'm like, man, I'm not even taking any money for revenue. All I'm there is just want a space, and I do the recruiting. I did all the marketing. I went to school for that. So that's when Facebook and everything was in its infancy, and I'm using all these tools and ad hoc. It wasn't the best looking flyers. It wasn't the best looking marketing, but we got 50, 60 people there. And then when you got there, it was like a little amp that barely you could hear. You got to be a little bit closer. Old mic that I found, right? But it got it going. Then I reinvested back into the business. Took the little bit of money that I was making from my jobs, and I realized I could use my 9 to 5 to fuel my other ideas. So I took the money and bought a bigger amp. Then I started learning how to use the amp. Then I realized I could get an audio technician to help me, who was a poet. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I helped them promote his album, because I already knew how to build websites. I already know how to build. I knew about Bandcamp and all these other tools to market it. And I even had to teach one guy, I'm like, don't ever give me a CD again. Ain't no one do you have a CD player? He's like, yeah. Ask that lady if she had a CD player. She's like, no. I'm like, dude, why aren't you on the cloud? Like, what's the cloud? Like, dude,
what's the cloud?
Yeah, he didn't know what that was, right? But again, then my wife is like, all right, well, how do we make money from this? So let's find a little chain where we could charge people at the door, right? Then, again, it started it started getting bigger and bigger, and that's how we do our businesses now. She had an idea, She Loves Health. She started learning about elderberry. She went online one day and said, if I started an elderberry business, who would buy some? All right.
Sure enough.
And then she came up, she didn't even have the product yet. She just said it. Then she went home, she figured out how to make it. It tastes better than all the competition. Then she already had 50 orders. And I would have built the website. I would have got the LLC. I'd have made sure I had the lawyers. I've never sold one thing yet.
Oh my gosh, she's just like my husband. My husband is like, we will figure it out. Yeah. That's the bar. So it's called Gantry. It's down by where the Seahawks play Lumen Field, I think it's called now. But he was the same way. So it was hot dogs early on, 20 years ago. Then we got married and he started burger food trucks. He's like, I don't know, I've never done a food truck. Let's give it a shot. And to your point, like you would want to do like the lawyers and make sure all of the LLC was right and that, that you knew where you could operate or whatever. Food trucks, are mobile. So you have to get all the county permissions and everything. He's like, I'm going to just go do it. Like, let's just test it out. Let's see what happens. Now, like, it's one of the, I guess it's probably a known brand in the Seattle area. It's called the People's Burger. And he ends up, hitting it out of the park just because he gave it a shot and he put himself out there. So there's, I guess, lesson learned here, or at least if you look at my family unit, it's like he puts himself out there in ways that I'm uncomfortable with. And I put myself out there in ways that probably don't fit his vibe. But together, it's a great partnership. But yeah, I think it's the same as your wife. Like they just go, they just do. And the bar is the same way. He's like, I got a spot. I got to take it. Let's go. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
And he's in his mind, he's like, it's already happening. The ship has sailed. We are doing this,
It's funny because I got elements of both, right? Because some things like this, I remember I had a job at my last company I worked for. And I just wanted to do the marketing a little bit different. I thought the vendor that I was contracting with had some old school marketing tactics. And it was the terriblest video ever. If you go back to the beginning of this channel, look at my second video. The first video was even worse. That was pretty funny. We can talk about that in a second. But this video was like RSA Mythbusters. I had like it in a PowerPoint PowerPoint. It wasn't 16 by 9, it was 4 by 3. So it was like cut off through the black lines. I was talking through WebEx at the time, through my computer with no mic. So it sounds crackly and everything. But the content was solid and people liked it. And it was just raw. I just put it up there. And I remember the VP of engineering at the company, like, this is what we need. And all the marketing he sent me the email. Just look how terrible the quality is. But I sold like 6 or 7 deals off of that. And I wasn't even a salesperson. I'm a tech guy, so I ended up just selling it there and it started working. Right. And then it spawned into this again. I got an idea, tried it out. I just know my wife is better at telling stories. So she helped me build. That's one thing that she doesn't even do intentionally. She tells stories on her Instagram page. So now she has a loyal following. Even though if it's 800 people, she got like 600 people who is engaging. That's better than 2,000 people only having 50 people or 100 people engaging, right? Yes, I realized she just had a gift to do that, but she wasn't comfortable doing video in the form like this is. Like I got lights, cameras. She don't like that. Hers is more organic through the phone. She's going to talk to you like you talking to your friends, right? And that works for her. So then we found out that I'm better on LinkedIn because that's a little bit more professional. She's better on Instagram, right? And I realized it just doesn't, we found different skills that we're good at, right? And then I just learned, I got better at seeing like, all right, we do it a different way, but it's our way. And then and she got better at leveraging my skills and I got better at leveraging your skills, similar like your story, right?
I think I need some lessons. I am not good at the it's actually probably something that should be a goal for me is to get better at that whole online presence and the brand that through that channel. I'm not good at that. I want my work to speak for itself, and I struggle with some of that that openness. I mean, I'm still a Facebooker. I don't know if that's even cool anymore. I mean, I think our kids, well, yours is younger. Mine is telling me that, Mom, nobody does Facebook anymore. So I got on this thing called the Snapchat, right?
Yeah.
The Snapchat. Trying, and I guess you can do very similar, you can build a brand and you can do things that are still quality and still the standard you hold for yourself. I think you can do it through any of those mediums, but I might need some advice. Maybe the listener, somebody's gonna ping me after this and say, hey, I can help you with your online brand. That'd be great. Thanks.
I can help with that. Certain things are different. I just found that each platform has a different way that they want to interact with. It's like different person almost. Like I used to do Snapchat, but then Instagram copied all the features of Snapchat. All of my friends are on Instagram, so I stopped using
Right.
Snapchat. But all
Yeah.
of my younger friends or my like relatives, if they under like 27, they all on Snapchat, but they don't use Instagram. Or if they use
Right.
Instagram, it's not as much. And now even my younger friends that I have, they all on TikTok, and I don't get TikTok. So
I don't I
you
don't
know, so
understand
that's where I
TikTok either.
realized I'm getting older as a marketer now. So I literally had to hire someone to help me do it because I just don't see the point in it. And now I'm starting to realize I need help in those
Yeah, you
areas.
might have to. So actually, it's funny. I had a conversation with one of my teammates a couple days ago. We were talking about how people learn or consume information and what what the technology space will be for that interaction and that learning process. And it was referenced. I can't remember. Somebody referenced it and said we need to teach people in a TikTok manner.
Yeah.
So there's something about that. Those bite-sized exchanges that are really getting traction. It's expected that you would interact with in your professional life in a very similar way as you would in those bite-sized personal engagements. But the thing is I'm a huge fan of preaching about the standard. Your standard is what you stand for. And if you don't show up in those mediums in the way that you should, you got to be careful about that. I
Yeah.
guess is probably my point. Makes me
Yeah.
nervous, right? You
You just
open up
gotta
those.
I found what helps me is figure out what I want, like what I'm willing to share, what I'm not willing to share.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned the privacy rules. And I realized from an artist perspective is TikTok, if you can get a really good hook and you get a nice beat and people do a dance to it, it goes viral. Like if you ever
True.
see like Drake, he always
True.
does Call Me on the Cell Phone is the easiest thing you can, it's like a jingle. Like all his songs are a jingle, and then you realize he puts a dance to it, then it spreads like wildfire.
Wildfire. Yeah, no,
So,
that's true. You do going viral. I've never had anything go viral, so maybe one day it'll happen. But yeah, I see all their little dances, and I see my son doing whatever kind of moves, and I think to myself, like, that's a lot of time spent looking at your phone trying to learn a single dance move to a single hook that
yeah.
I can't comprehend. And plus, I'm a terrible dancer.
Yeah.
So the world does not want to see my versions of
Oh,
TikToks. I
same
can
here,
tell
man.
you
I'm
that right
terrible
now.
too. So, but it also got to think about our friends, right? If our friends were doing it, we might be a little bit more inclined to try
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So,
If your circle of friends were hooked on something, then yeah, maybe you would get more in the know on that.
oh, yeah.
I think I think it's just a matter of personal preference, what you're comfortable with,
True.
and how you really want to, how far you want to be out there in the world,
Yeah.
right? Like, because once it's out there, it doesn't
It
ever
doesn't come
come
back.
back. Yeah.
I was funny. One of my good friends is electrical engineer, and he's more of a reader. He is
Okay.
on social media. He just reads the profiles. He might interact a little, but he's not as open as me. And I always told him, like, well, you need to do this and this, and not realizing that's not who he is and that's not his brand.
No.
So for those of you out there, that just might not be your thing, right?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
And that's
Yeah.
fine. But you just gotta. I found now, like at least in the roles that I do, you might need to have that brand. They might be buying that brand. I also found that now when I have like if you're an artist, if you're a marketer, and you can show a portfolio of your stuff, it might not need to be on social media. Maybe just make a website. Maybe you might make something
Yeah.
else. You might just make us. I see some of my friends who don't really like LinkedIn or Facebook. They make brand pages that have their information on there, and they drive employers to there. So find creative ways that it fits into
Oh.
your personality, or just have a private one that maybe is not public, but when you look for jobs, you add it in afterwards to showcase your work. Because I
Oh,
got a
that's a
lot of,
good idea. Yeah.
so this depends on that person. You got to kind of calibrate
But
it to yourself.
but just know too that like your employer will or your future employer will certainly search for your online
Present. Yep.
presence and your online persona, and that is something that you got to protect.
Yep.
Um,
And be
I,
careful. of
Yeah.
who you tag in there and what they put of you.
Yes.
Um,
100%.
yeah, I got so many funny stories of getting tagged in questionable things. I'm like, oh my God,
I wasn't there. I
I
wasn't
wasn't
there.
there. I'm telling you, it wasn't me. So but you answered a lot of the questions. I guess before we
Did I?
yeah.
Okay. So I think I know that there's probably a little bit more meat on some of those bones in terms of, a career path and advice, or I don't know. I don't know what other questions were
Yeah.
left on the table.
Yeah, so I guess the main thing that we could probably clarify, and I think would be cool before we go into like your hobbies and other things, is
Okay.
what is the advice you would have given yourself earlier in your career? Now that you have this wealth of knowledge, this experience, what would you tell the younger version? I mean, your younger self.
Well, I would tell my younger self not to grow up too quickly. That's not a professional thing, but hold
Mhm.
on to that.
Yeah, that's a good
Those
one.
phases of your life, because it goes by, it's gone. I didn't have an early 20s, as I described everyone. I had my 20s was like a typical early 30s at this point. But I guess professionally, if I look back at my career, the advice I would give myself would be experience and determination, and that grit is more than a resume element or a title or a job that you could claim that you held. Like, it is all about your grit and wanting to continuously work towards the next step. My mom was a single mom as well, like I described earlier, and she, was kind of a similar role model in that way, that it was always head down, do the work, show up, be reliable, be that. I actually got this advice from long ago from a prior mentor. It was that you want to be the name on the list. If somebody's in a room or people are in a room and there's a problem, you want to be on that list of people who need to be part of the solution. Like, experience and determination and grit is what's going to get you to the next step, because nothing, a, a, your pedigree, your degree, your not like your supposed knowledge on paper, how you look on paper is not necessarily how you're going to show up in person. And so you got to be that person that shows up like in that way. And that's a mouthful, I know, but
No,
it's sum it up, like, do the job, do the work, put the work in, show you're capable, and don't let up. Keep your foot to the pedal.
I think that was beautifully said. I think that was great. Again,
Thanks.
I think I think you think it was too much. I think it was just enough. You gave substance. You gave
Mhm.
clarity. And I think the main thing you saw is enjoy those stages. And I'm seeing
Yeah.
that with my daughter. I
Yeah.
remember just taking her home in my arms and my wife and I looking at her for the first time. And we not even talking, but I felt like we knew what we both were feeling at that moment. And now she's like, Dad, I don't need help. I want to do it myself. I'm like, hold on,
Yeah.
what's going on? It's changing. Like, I just got her a block set online so we've been practicing her ABs. And she was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to say A right now. I see an apple on there. I see an alligator on there. Or she say Allie. He can't get the alligator out there yet. But she don't want to tell him what she knows how to say it. She
Yeah.
chooses not to, but she's getting older. She can make those changes, So it's just I'm enjoying her stages. Like my wife always tells me, because I'm like, man, why she didn't know how to do this? Well, she's a baby, enjoy it. I didn't. Sometimes I'm starting to do it now more vividly. I'm capturing those emotions. I started like a reflection journal where I share some of those thoughts with myself so I can look back in it like each day, like how I felt yesterday. I can see 2 years from now how I felt exactly what I was thinking at that moment. And then I can relive that again, So
Yeah.
I think
No,
that
that's
was a powerful statement right there. So
yeah. Well, and also I think, what is the saying? The saying goes, the days are long, but the years are short,
mhm.
right? Like, it's so true. Our kids, like, he's going to be 17 in April. So he's not quite 17, but he's close enough. He's
Mhm.
6'4". He is a grown man in high school, and he doesn't need me as much, but I still relish those moments where he's still home with me and he still wants to be with mom and Sid, and we are a family unit. And then he'll go do his thing. But those years are so short. I got one more year left with him at home, which is, I mean, gosh, it's like it could bring tears to my eyes to think of like what he and I have gone through and what, and then now he's off to college, and the fact that I am capable and able to facilitate him going to college, which is not something that my parents, could do. I'm thankful for that opportunity to give to him what, maybe I did swing the pendulum a little bit more the other direction than maybe I should. There, that can be debated, but I want to give him that opportunity. He's going to go off to college. He's going to do great things, and it's a blink of an eye, Sly. It really is.
Yeah, I can tell you from myself. Like once I I was 19. I did 1 year at community college before I left. I never came.
Mm-hmm.
I never lived at home again. Once I went to college, I came home to visit, but
Right.
I moved to Florida. I was gone. I live in Buffalo. My parents in Brooklyn. Never been home. Like I was home for a year, and then I left again. But my
Yep.
mom and I, we call every day, and she tells me, he sent me like pictures of me being a little kid. You still remembering, like, I'm still your mom. And I know that, we still have that bond. My dad did the same thing. My dad is a little bit more hands off, like, you're a man now. I did my
Yep.
job. So peace, man. I'm good, man. I'm riding off at the sunset. My mom's a little bit more hands on, right? So she's, that, she was the first one with me, right? So
Well, and that's
just different
that's
things.
the thing is like we are women, we are moms. We have careers. There's a lot of different pressures. And let's even look at what's happening in the world today around, balancing the pandemic and like some of the challenges women are facing and determining, their continued workforce participation, or if they're going to, work in the home. Let's call it that. It's work. But think of also when those that have to do both at the same time, like it is a monumental thing to be able to carry that load, and to be a force like that, like your mom. She's your mom. She was there. She always is, has been, and to this day, moms still want to keep you alive. Like
Yep.
that's their job, right? Their job has always been to just keep you alive, keep you healthy, be part of your life. Like, and that's the stuff, like I could have the biggest career jumps and be sitting on a stage somewhere, or be, like really transcend some barriers that people maybe thought I would never achieve, but I'm still going to just be a mom.
Yeah.
And, but don't think my goal isn't to keep going. But being a mom is kind of like my root, right? Or it's me. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
It's at your core, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I should be able to describe it, right?
No, it's fine. I don't know. Like, you got some powerful feelings right there. Like, if you tell me to describe my feelings for my daughter, it's challenging at times because I feel like I never can encapsulate exactly the reality of it for me,
Yeah.
So I can see why sometimes it's the words are right there. You just can't get them out just yet because they mean your son is your life, So not saying that you're ambitious, you're driven, you're going to achieve, but in the end of the day, one of your biggest achievements is your son, right? And for my daughter, it's the same. Like I know I got some lofty goals, and I'm going to achieve them. So, but I won't do that in the detriment of not being there for my wife and my children, my daughter currently, if we ever decide to get more children. I want, in my deathbed, I always look back. When I used to run track, I went to the end of the race and I would turn around and run it the opposite way so I can see when I needed to turn it up, when do I conserve energy, and I know when I'm running. And the same thing I did, like for me getting older. I don't know when I'm going to take that last breath, but when I'm taking it, if I get lucky enough to do that, and I'm conscious and take that last breath, I want to go through that memory reel and I want to see smiles with my children, with my wife. I want them to be looking down at me and say, Dad, you can go. I'm ready. I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
We got this. You know,
Yeah,
we
for
appreciate
sure.
everything you did. Because for me, that's great. If I get $1 billion, that'd be nice too. I ain't gonna lie. I can leave some stuff in the trust. You know, that ain't gonna, it won't be a bad thing. But if I had to do that at the chance to say, like, I met, but one thing that happened to me, I went to Florida for 3 years and I got to be around a lot of people who already, they're at the end of their lives. And they told me, like, I got a guy who had yachts, boats, all this stuff that you would envy. Like, I envied as, you know, someone who grew up from modest means. And he was like, nah, you don't see anyone hanging out with me, man. Like, my kids don't want to talk to me, Sly. I thought this
Yep.
was all for them. They don't want any of it. And he's like, if I could do it again, I wouldn't go on for this. You know,
Right.
maybe I would have went to a game. Maybe I would have went to. I would have been there with my wife. I did these things,
Yeah.
and a few people told me that, and I'm like, so as a young kid, and I can tell you're ambitious. Don't forget who's closest to you,
Yeah.
and like even if you're listening to this, don't forget what's driving you. And if you don't have someone yet, you might find that someone. And I'm saying to be driven, but if you find that one, don't let those artificial objects determine your worth, because
For
I
sure.
feel like as human beings, we could be so much more, including.
Well, yeah,
So,
and that's, I was gonna say, like, to any listener, you know, it's not that you have to have kids or that you have to be married or, you know, any of those. I don't know, is it a norm or is it a legacy expectation? That's not it at all. What it is you find the people around you, or the people around you who drive, you know, are going to be part of your ambition. My son and my husband just happen to be my key drivers.
yep.
And yours in this is the same, right, Sly? So any listener who's like, I don't identify necessarily with having a child or a spouse or something like that, you still look around. You have people in your life that will drive, that are part of that ambition. You want to take care of someone or be a good community member, or bring, you know, be philanthropic, or whatever those ambitions are. That's your drive. That's your ambition. And I think maybe it does get to, you know, maybe it's defaults for me because mine is my son and my husband, and that's the life I'm living. But there's nothing. In fact, find as much ambition and find those people that surround you, so that you do have those look back moments and you can say, I smiled at all of this. These were all the people I touched in my life. These are all the ones that impacted me. That's what it's about.
Those are the things that keeps us, right? You know, and it's easy, like you said, each person is different. Find what motivates you and drive you, and that
Yeah.
kind of parlays into our next question: is what's
Okay.
some of your hobbies that you do outside of work?
I mean, I really do love my job, so this is a hard no. Um, I think my favorite pastime is watching my son play his sports. My husband and I both love, like, if there's a tournament somewhere. That was a bummer with the COVID thing too. You know, obviously, is that sports and all of that was severely impacted, and we love to travel and to be in the stands watching him play basketball. He's now attempting football, which is great. So I love being a sports mom. I don't even know if that keeps me in the mom realm, right? But it's still a hobby, right,
Yeah,
Sly? Can't that be a hobby? Okay.
100%.
Um, and then I enjoy a workout. I enjoy, you know, trying to get some runs in here and there. Like, I like that headspace clearing time for me. And then if I was to go kind of on like the more personal, like, care side, I love some girl days and some spa days, and, you know, like those little special times. What other hobby? Oh, I love being on water. My husband and I, and our family, we're at the lake a lot. So our summer adventures are really, really exciting, road tripping, things like that.
Do you listen to podcasts or audibles or
You
audiobooks?
know, I have tried. I listen to when I'm driving back and forth to the lake. I do listen to Audible or podcasts. I know this sounds a little bit gruesome, but I like those murder podcasts. I don't know. It's weird. I know,
Is it like more
but
like the mysteries, murders,
yeah,
or
I like it. No, it's like the real life stuff.
okay,
It's not that I like. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but like it's a theme, you can listen to the crime stuff, like it's a crime junkie kind
yeah,
of podcast as well. I don't know.
yeah.
What else? I love to clean. I'm a cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm OCD. So, so I actually enjoy cleaning. Like I will ask for a day at home just to clean the house. I'll ask myself, it's weird. I know, but those are my things.
That's it, man. I mean, those are cool things to have. Me and one of my good friends are working on our guys trip now, right? So
Yeah.
I'm trying to, I gotta get my body back in shape so we can, hit the beach or something.
Oh,
So I told
well,
him, like my buddy's, he's working on shedding some pounds. I'm like, all right, let's make it interesting. On this Saturday, we're gonna pick the day where we're going. I threw some places out. We're gonna buy the ticket. And if COVID, if the COVID things are like calm down, we'll go. We're gonna plan it out all the way in October. And that's kind of a goal for me to stay in the gym, getting back there, right? And I do a lot. I like to write poetry, not really short stories. I like writing short stories.
okay.
Reading, I read a lot, but I listen to more audibles and podcasts because it seems like it just blends in a day. I do like I can read a good amount.
You know, my thing,
I game too. So
my thing on the whole Audible slash podcast stuff is, I'm connected to my computer
yeah,
all the time,
same
and
here.
so we've got our headphones on all the time, and so I think I almost feel a little guilty if I'm intentionally still connected to something like technology when it's not my work time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's like a psychological thing about it, but I guess I would rather, cook dinner or, but it's not that I don't want to learn through those mediums.
Yeah,
I just,
you just want a
I
break.
don't, I need a break. Yeah,
Need a
I
break.
guess that's probably a good way to put
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense. I'm similar to you. I'm on the computer all day, so I make sure
Right.
to go down and play with my daughter. I get extra toys, I get to play with her. And now if I might go to the gym, so that's why I started writing. But then I end up writing on my computer, so I'm still writing on the computer. The
So
thing I'm supposed to write.
you're still at the keyboard. You're still at the screen.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's tough. I live in Buffalo, man. It's cold, man. So I don't feel it. But that's an excuse, guys. I see people outside walking. They just bundle up. So that's still kind of an excuse. But that's
Yes.
my excuse, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
But
I'm sure you'll have some fans call you out and say, "Hey, Sly, did you get your workout in today?"
yeah,
I'm
so like
sure.
I wake up 5:30, just get it in. Now
Okay.
I go straight there and get it in. But anyway,
Probably one of my most favorite books I've ever read is The Outliers. I can't remember the author.
Malcolm Gladwell.
Malcolm, thank you. And The Tipping Point, I think was also him.
Same guy. Yep.
Yep. Another favorite book. Let's see. Right now I'm reading some Ryan Holiday, which is, Ego is the Enemy.
That's I never read that one. What's that about?
It's about, recognizing that, every single one of us has an ego. We do.
Yeah.
And that if you don't recognize that, you can find yourself, and those around you are negatively impacted by that boisterous, ego behavior. And how to curb it, or how to recognize certain situations where it's called for and where it's not. And I'm only on like page 25, so I couldn't tell you like what the rest of it's about, but it's happening. Yeah. Let me see here. If I look,
I was gonna tell you, you could use your lifeline right now.
I know I could, huh? Oh, this is a funny one. So I actually reference it all the time. It's those for dummies books.
Yeah.
Right. I reference my corporate finance for dummies book all the time.
That's cool, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you need a refresher, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I did start college. I just didn't finish it, like I told the listeners. And so sometimes you just got to get back to the basics.
Oh
And
yeah, I'm reading
that's my
healthy habits for dummies. It's like
yes.
I didn't know
I
that
mean,
book even existed. You know, I'm trying to eat better. I'm like, I remember I just went in. I'm like, well, let's look up a book for healthy habits for dummies. I guess let me figure it out, man. Like it's to going over like the basic nutrition stuff. I'm like, hey, I don't remember any of this stuff. So
yeah.
for me, I need
Well,
to do it. You know. So.
well, one other one I'll say, especially for the listeners, which is it's "Drop the Ball" by Tiffany Defoe. I think is how you pronounce her last name. It's called "Drop the Ball." I actually read that with a group of women here, like a women's group that we kind of did a book nook kind of thing, and it was all about the balance and of being, you know, a career-driven woman and a mother and a caretaker and a wife and or you know, so that could be translated into being a spouse or a parent or a caretaker. Like it doesn't matter. There's that balance between the partnerships and what's, you know, what you expect someone to how you expect something to be done or handled or you know, designed or whatever. Like not everybody thinks the way you do. Your partner doesn't think the same way. One of the things that actually stuck with me in that book is actually she has this dry cleaning example where she had asked her husband to go pick up the dry cleaning. And you know, like me, I'd be like, can you go pick up the dry cleaning? And I would expect that the dry cleaning would get picked up and then brought home and like all the things. And it didn't come home. He didn't bring it home with him that day when he came home, and she was frustrated, but the dry cleaner had dropped it off. Like basically there's other ways to get things done. And that was a huge eye-opening book for me as it relates to my, you know, my OCD, my controlling ways, that kind of thing. I try not to.
You sound like my wife, man. I remember she'll give me some things because she's very OCD.
Oh, we have lists.
She has a
Yeah.
list, and I showed up. Yeah, I got these 3 things on here. I'm gonna get it done eventually. It's gonna get done. I don't know when it's gonna get done, but it's gonna get done. You know, she gets so frustrated. I remember my family came out. We was living in St. Pete, and she's like, "What's the game plan?" I'm like, "I don't know. We're just gonna take you down to this spot here."
My the same way.
And then they get down there, and the one spot is closed. I'm like, well, I have a backup. So I'm looking on my phone, and everyone looking at me all crazy. Oh, we go here, went there. It worked out. It wasn't smooth. She was like, we could have planned this before. So I just wanted you to see how it is. Look how much time we wasted. We went to the park, but you didn't realize what Milan's going to do. How you know? Like the little kids are having fun. What about you? They're all like, man, she'll figure it out. She's old enough to figure it out. But you could have planned for that, Sylvester. We could have planned for that.
We could have planned for that. I ask my husband all the time, what's the plan? Do we have a plan? And back to the bar, you know, the fact that he literally built the bar with his best friend and some other help. You know, I was always asking, what's the plan? What's the plan? And he's like, I don't know, but it's going to happen. It's just going to work out. And I don't do well with that. I think it's just because of all the stuff I was telling you, you know, like I have got to make sure that there's always a way, you know, I have to feel like there's going to be the end is there, you know, the end is in sight, or like the accomplishment, the goal is achievable, you know. I always have to feel like that.
It got to be some areas that you don't do that for. I know for me, if we got budgets, I got budgets on lock. Like my grandma's getting to the point where she got Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
She's 85. She's gonna.
My grandma too.
She might go any day. I literally have an Excel spreadsheet with a line on there for grandma's funeral because I'm probably gonna have to help pay for it or pay for it. Mm-hmm. I already planned on that for like a year or two. My wife was like, "Who does that?" I'm like, someone who has to pay for it. And who does that? I don't want to put it on. I could put it on credit card. I got way enough space on there, but I have to have that plan. I already have money to the side. My mom want to go on vacation. I have a spreadsheet with everything on there. How much money I'm going to have by 55 for my 401k? Yeah, I have that. How much money do I want all my houses to make that I purchased? I have that. I'm very detailed on that. Or if stuff get real, I have one account that just in case, if I need to get back home to my mama's house, I got enough money to get there just to figure something out. But I don't think I would be in that situation. But again, I'm very OCD for that. Like my wife tells me like she overdrawn on something. Like, how is that even possible? Like, like
Yeah.
how? Like
Yeah.
how is
Like,
that possible?
how did you not know? Like, that was,
And then she does that to
it's going to
me.
be the result here.
Like certain things
Yeah.
like you didn't see, like it'd be something like obvious around the house that I just didn't clean. And she's like, how did you miss this? Or it'd be something like, or for my, like, I respond to someone and the grammar will be off. Like, did you not reread it? Like, I actually read it 4 times. I'm just probably not good at this. That's why I got Grammarly.
My husband is the best at leaving. Not gonna. He if he listens to this, I'm not knocking you, darling, but you are really good about leaving the stuff on the stairs and walking right by it.
Oh yeah, my wife get mad at me because I like open up an Amazon box, I leave it there. Like, yeah, I'm gonna throw that away. I'll be right back. I'm gonna throw that away. It'll be the next day. When you plan to throw this away? Like, oh man, I forgot about that. Let me go get that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's one. Everybody's different. Everyone's different. I guess the moral of this story is that I have some funny ticks and I have some real ambition and I have a fear of not. You talk about budget or you talk about managing all that. I have a fear of ever being back where I was again. You can ask my husband. I still to this day say I can never not have electricity again. I can never not have enough gas in my car again. I can never not, like, that's my own personal awareness. And not many people know I'm sharing it with the world now, but only my close friends and family know that this is the strife and this is the background on, how I am who I am, why I am who I am, and how I got where I got.
And that kind of dovetails in the last question. How can the audience contact you?
Yes, the audience can contact me probably via LinkedIn is probably the best channel to stay agnostic to work. But so it's Marchelle Klippenstein Veramini. Varamini is my married name. Professionally, I go by Marchelle Klippenstein, and which is my maiden, and I kept it because my dad has passed away, like I said, so it's important to me. And then, so LinkedIn, find me, and I'm happy to chat. I'm happy to have more conversation about just ambition, being a woman in tech, being a mom, like all of those things. If anybody else is a hot dog man's wife, please feel free to reach out. If you come to Seattle, ping me. I'd love to meet anyone who's as ambitious or who really wants to continue to build their life. And I am a huge fan of supporting people doing that.
Sweet, man. That is a fantastic story. And the funny thing is, my wife did something similar. She has 2 last names. She hyphenated because it's only 2 girls in her family. So like even my wife and I agreed that one of the children, when we have another child, is the middle name might be Dandino, and her middle name, so it can stay another generation.
Yeah, so that's important.
So because I remember I was there and she's like, "Do you want me to have a last name?" I'm like, "Well, there ain't no guys in your family." I think I know how proud I am of my last name. Like, this is a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you're the one who's changing it. My passport and everything stays the same. So I wouldn't be mad if you take my name, but I wouldn't be mad if you hyphen it either, So
yeah,
so that's what we end up doing, So
I kept my last name professionally because of that's who I've always been, and also my son, right? Like he had a different last name too, and so when my husband and I got married, and I started referring to myself as the Veramini family, he said to me, and he was 7 at the time, so he knew. He's like, "Mom, this isn't my name. Like, I'm not a Veramini. I'm a Baxter." And I said, "True." So I hadn't changed my name yet or anything, and I said, "You know what? We're gonna stay all different names, buddy. Like, it's fine. I'm me, Sid, and you're you, and we're all a family anyway." And so that was actually another reason to keep the name. And then it stuck. The longest name ever. If I was to actually truly hyphenate, it would be Marchelle Klippenstein Veramini, which is so many syllables and so many letters. So hyphenating is not an option.
Yeah,
It
Dandino
wouldn't fit on
Gittins.
any forms.
Yeah, half of it's cut off. It was like Dandino Git,
Yeah.
so it never everything gets cut off. So I definitely see it. So
Yeah.
this was been a fantastic interview. I hope
Thank
the
you.
listeners, the viewers, hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to drop a comment down there if you liked it. Make sure to hit like, subscribe, and Sly Gittins and Marchelle are out. Peace.
Out. Peace out.